welcome to this week's Soul Wisdom, where we're going to talk about tapping in. What is tapping in? How do you know when you're tapped in? How do you tap in?
That's a great question.
That's a great question because it just usually happens naturally. So
Yeah.
it's a sense of just peace and deep knowing when you get something, or it's also a sense of that something is just different. You know, it's not your logical mind anymore.
Yeah.
Like if you're driving down the road and something's like, you need to go right here.
Right.
And you're like, why? I always go straight. And, and you start logically trying to question it instead of just going
Yeah.
right. Or some of us might just go right and then you hear later there was some horrible accident that you missed or whatever. So
I've had that happen to me a couple of
Yeah.
times. So it's like I took the wrong turn. And I'm like, why the hell did I do that? And then come to find out there was some massive accident that was in that direction. So,
exactly.
something is watching over us, if you will.
Yep, there's a
So,
lot bigger than just us.
absolutely.
A lot more behind just our logic, because most of us are running on logic or autopilot all damn day
Yeah.
and not truly coming
Right.
from that tapped in place.
Right. I think for me, when I tap in, when I deliberately tap in, I usually do it in meditation. That's my first thing. And, I have a routine that I do in the morning, and one of it is meditation because I like to tap into the very global energy.
Yeah.
So I deliberately do that. I go into meditation and I just, and open up and make sure that I am open to receive whatever message, feeling, situation. That's what I do so that I'm able to then come out of it and create content for our soul intentions. And that's what I do. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get in the inbox, I really needed to read that
hear
today.
that, or yeah.
Because I tap in. And sometimes when I meditate, just to meditate, because I like tapping into that realm and that space, I'm able to just feel what's going on for me. What my body's saying, what my mind is on a loop on, like things like that, so that I can tweak it.
Yeah, so all the things that we talk about all the time, guilt and perspective and vulnerability and all that, if you're tapped in, it just gives you like a huge lens on all of that. And
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier to navigate it, to see it
Right.
without taking it personally or beating yourself up over
Right.
it. And just, tune that dial a little bit.
Right. There's a different vibe in when you're like this, but when you're tapped in, you're out there,
Exactly.
and it's a better picture to look at, because when we're so zeroed in on one specific thing, we're missing out on all the other information that's around us.
Right.
So tapping in is a good way to gauge what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're going through, and honor them. That's the other part of it. You have to honor those feelings. You have to honor those thoughts, and it's like, okay, and then just like get curious. It's all about getting curious these days.
Everything's about taking a step back and getting curious.
Yeah.
And meditation is a great tool just because it creates that space and it allows a place for your mind just to calm down, so the logical mind can stop trying to be in control, or the autopilot program can stop trying to rule your life.
Right.
So different ways besides meditation, that is when else, I mean, is
Music
it always
for me.
music?
Yeah, there's a certain energy about music that taps me in, that just here we are.
Exactly.
That and sitting in stillness, just being quiet, just listening to my breath. Not necessarily because I'm going into meditation, but it's just listening to my breath, the rhythm of my breath. That taps me in. Sometimes it just kind of happens. I don't know how. I don't know why.
I've had those moments too, especially when we're coaching people.
Yeah.
Because if you're really present with somebody and you're just kind of holding space and you're listening and you're feeling into that energy, all of a sudden, actually, we get that on the podcast sometimes when we listen back, all of a sudden something will come out of your mouth and it just shifts the person or the energy
Yeah.
of the session
Yeah.
or the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, I don't know that, think that.
Yeah.
Uh, that's not what I made notes on before we sat down. Like,
I
where?
think I think it's funny when that happens
I
to me.
love it.
It's like I'm hearing the words coming out of my mouth, and in my head I'm like, where the fuck did that just come from?
Yep.
You're just like, what? Did I just say that?
And sometimes you're like, oh, that's brilliant, but not in an egoic way. In a
Yeah.
like, wow, that was the right thing to say in the right moment, or the right thing to do in the right
Right.
moment. So when you get out of your own way, shit can just happen, and it makes life more magical, more free flowing.
Yeah.
It's just a much better space. I think for me, ritual has actually worked well for me. So if I'm working on like I want to release something, like a relationship just ended or a friendship or something, and I'm actually doing something actively where I'm writing stuff down that I want to release, and then I'm like maybe burning it, or just something. So I'm
Yeah.
physically also doing, so
Yeah.
that my body gets that sense, and then it just taps me into a different way, because it becomes like sacred to me. Like, this is the space I'm creating to hold this energy at that moment. So it's just
It's like cleaning house.
yeah, it's just a different way to tap in.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because a lot of people feel really, like, if they go to church or whatever, they feel really connected
Yeah.
as soon as they walk in, or you go into a temple or just somebody's house, and it just feels peaceful.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's just because that space is there for you just to be super present and tapped into all that is, instead of the busyness of this world and this
Right.
life.
I mean, I think that we're always tapped in.
Right.
And we become aware of it when we deliberately or consciously look at it in that manner.
Pay attention to it. Right?
Exactly. Pay attention to it. Because I think that we're just like tapped in all the time. I mean, it makes me think about, growing up, I was consistently talking and seeing the unseen. Was that me tapped in all the time? I think so. I don't know what else to call it. It just kind of happened. It wasn't like I was sitting down and just saying, okay, I want to talk to dead people.
Right.
Yeah, no, that wasn't what I was doing. But that's kind of what happened. So I was tapped in, tuned in. That's for sure.
Exactly.
That I can see them and I can hear them and have a all-out conversation with them. That was fun.
That was fun. And it was overwhelming too, I'm sure. Just like
Clearly
like this
overwhelming.
physical realm gets very overwhelming with all the input. So as you start to tap in, do you really trust it? Because it starts kind of sometimes, unless you're just plugged in from the gate,
Yeah.
it starts as a whisper sometimes, or just like an inner pull,
Yeah.
just a sense, a feeling.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you're not tapped in. It means as you practice and as you build that confidence in it. So if you get that pull, go with it immediately before you can start mind fucking it
Right.
and explaining, oh, well,
Or become fearful of it.
Become
I think
fearful. A lot of
that
people-
just stops it on its tracks.
yeah.
The minute you become fearful of it, it just. I remember one of the times that I heard a voice, and like my heart dropped for like a second, but then I got curious.
Yeah.
And I listened harder, and before I knew it, I was able to make out what it was trying to communicate, and all that. And then there are times where I find myself literally, it feels like I'm in a room full of people, that muffled of a lot of people talking in a
Yeah,
room.
like at a party or
That's
something.
what it sounds like to me sometimes. And again, it has to be when I'm tapped in. I don't know when it happens. It just happens.
Because
so
you've-
it's maybe because I'm just so literally open.
Yeah. And the more you practice that, and the
Yeah.
more you go with it, you build the confidence.
Yeah, and I was never afraid of it, which was really cool.
Right.
I had moments where like my heart would drop because it would startle me. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, I know I'm
You
by
know, in your
myself and I
house-
hear a voice.
Exactly. Or you see something.
But
and
other
you're
than
like,
that,
"Oh."
it's just like I was good. I listened and learned a lot. I was given a boatload of information when I was young. Holy crap. Most of it was just like, now what am I supposed to do with all that information?
Right. When I first started getting stuff, I was like, you know, I'm getting this, and I was sharing constantly, and
Yeah.
then you get a lot of people that are like,
Yeah.
like, stop, that's too much, or how did you know that? That freaks me out, or I didn't want to hear that. And
Right.
so you get to like gauge either how you work something into a conversation, or you just hear it. And
Yeah.
basically I say in my head, like, if this is important to be heard out loud to the person that I'm with at this moment, or the maybe I'm not with them, because sometimes I'll get stuff in dreams about people, and it doesn't mean I used to, like, you know, I you know, text them or
Yeah.
contact them and say, hey, I got this. Not unless I feel really, really pulled,
Yeah.
do I do that.
Yeah. I've always asked.
In
You
all,
know,
yeah, especially our client sessions with our coaching
exactly.
stuff.
I kind of tell them my style. I'm not a medium, so I don't consider myself to be that.
Right.
And I make that abundantly clear. But if I should hear something, or something is trying to come through during a coaching session, before we even start to coach, I put that on the table. Do you want to hear what I hear?
Exactly.
And if it's a no, then I'll just listen, but I will never, relay the message. And if it's a yes, then I will stop in mid coaching session and say, this is what I'm getting. And I spill it out. So, yeah, I mean, it's always been a consistent thing for me. And I think that that's pretty universal for most of us. It's just a matter of whether you're listening and paying attention, because they're always talking. They're always
Exactly.
there.
You're never truly alone. There's
Never.
always information out there. I mean, it's not necessarily just flowing in from a certain
Yeah.
being. Like, it's
Yeah.
universal knowledge, universal information that is out there for anybody to tap into.
Let me tell you something. The time I met my team, if you will, whoa, it's like I never realized just how many people are behind me, by my side, in front of me. It was mind blowing, and I was told that is with everyone. Not just me, it's everyone. They're always there. They're always watching you. They're always making sure that you're okay. Never interfering in your life. Your choices are your choices. Mistakes are there for you to make. But they will talk to you when they need to, in showing you a picture, putting on a certain song,
Dreams.
a dream,
Certain
some
signs.
All of a sudden you'll get a feeling is like, I gotta go do this. That's the divine angels, spirit, however you want to call them, that are there for you to guide you in some level without interfering in your choices in life.
Exactly. Yeah, you have free will here.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You don't ever have to be fearful of that.
So as far as tapping in, I think that we're all there. Just a matter of paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I deliberately do it, is through meditation or music.
Meditation, music.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is ritual and energy. Really, I have one instance where you were just talking about seeing your team and everything, that I was actually in a ritual type of thing, and it was just some general thing, just so I could feel more tapped in, I guess.
Okay.
Because I like that feeling, so creating that sacred space feels really good to me. But I was in that space, and then I got a hit that I should read Psalm 23. So I'm like, okay, Bible, where I have 8 million spiritual books, but I know I have a family Bible, so I found it, and I started reading it, and then I got this, I can't explain the energy of it. It's just so expansive and huge, and I opened my eyes, because I had finished reading, and angels I never knew were so flippin' massive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we put everything into our construct of what we know.
Yeah.
So we think that, they're just like, they look like humans, or they look like
Massive.
angels we see on TV. Or
They
like,
are massive.
It was insane.
If you've ever had the opportunity to be visited, or one presents itself to you, massive.
You are in awe.
I remember
Utter awe.
when it happened to me, I literally thought that I was in a subway or a freight train. That was the first sound that I got. It sounded like I was in a freight train or something.
That's funny.
That it was about to come through. And then this massive being showed up. And it was just like the cold feeling I got, not because it was bad. It was just like this cold sense of peace and love and like all these different things. And it's just like, oh my God, this is what home feels like.
Yeah.
That's tapped in.
I remember I blacked out once because I was having trouble.
I remember you saying that.
I remember when I went down, I was instantly cold. And then I'm like, is this what dying feels like? I wasn't really, well, I could have died, I guess. I could have died. But I wasn't really, maybe I was dying. I don't know. But it's instantly cold.
Yeah.
And then, the subway thing. And I remember I kept trying to slow it down because it was too much for me. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. So I just had to surrender to it at one point. And then I came back real quick. Like they shoved me out of it. But totally felt like really, 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 really fast subway. And I think it's because that's the massiveness of the energy that's out there.
Right.
I mainly see energy more so than beings and that type of thing.
And being pushed out like that goes with dreams. Like for me, when I'm tapped in a dream, first of all, there's a difference between a dream and a journey.
Yes.
And when I'm in a journey, it's very vivid and it's very specific. And when it's done, literally, they'll push you out.
Yes.
And the reason why they do that is because that is the last thing you will remember. Everything that they just downloaded on you. That abrupt come to this realm now, you'll still remember it.
Exactly.
If you're dreaming, you'll possibly will remember the dream, but other than that, in a journey, you know when you're in one.
Yeah, because I'm super logical, so I would always try to remember my dreams, or I'd lay in bed for a little bit and try to, go back in it and catalog in it, and that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Those, big energy push instant perspective shifts.
Yeah.
Or you have new information, you might not have a clue what the hell it is, but you're just different. You're changed.
I've lived most of my life that way.
Right.
Boatload of information. I'm like, oh, what the fuck am I going to do with it now? And I had a spirit come and say to me, you don't have to do anything with it. It's yours to just have, kind of like in your toolbox, if you will.
Like you have a book. Like I have 8 million books. I don't have to, this is my new book.
You don't need to do anything with it. It's just for you to have. And I'm like, okay. And once I was given the okay, if you will, on that's when I've kind of like calmed down, and whatever comes up, and I put it where it needs to be, unless I'm super directed to say, you need to go find this person. You need to tell them X, Y, and Z, whether they want to listen to it or not, because that is their way of, that person's team saying this person needs help and we can't seem to communicate directly with them.
Please do it for us.
We need you to do this for us.
Right.
And I do. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes not so much. But again, I'm not attached to it, so I just do what I'm supposed to do and I move on.
Exactly.
What you do with it is on you.
Yep. So the same spiritually tapping in is the same exact tools you're going to use in everyday life here. Is, just kind of surrendering to what is, not getting attached, enjoying what comes up, and just keep moving.
Yeah, for sure.
So as you can see, there's many different ways you can tap in. You can try the music, the meditation, the ritual, a million different ways.
Whatever works for you.
Exactly.
There's no one way to do it. It's whatever works for you.
And just build the belief. Yeah. Like if you get a thing, don't be like, I'm not tapped in like Wolf is, so I'm not seeing actual beings walking up to me and angels with swords that are. The comparison. Drop it. It happens differently for everybody. Yeah. Some people see colors. Some people see nothing. They just have brilliant shit drop out of their mouth. Some people just are super funny because laughter is a high energy, and just you joking around and making people smile is that tapped in energetic thing coming through you. Whatever you have a passion for, that's your tapped in. Yeah. Gardening, it could be, shout out to Devin who sent me this awesome t-shirt from Making Magic Designs. Cool. Her art and her making t-shirts is her magic, and she knows that and is aware, so that's Devin's being tapped in. It's just whatever your special flavor is, just lean into it, embrace it, love it, and you're tapped in.
Yeah, for sure. and let us know how that works for you.
Yeah, how do you tap in?
Yeah.
What does it feel like? What does it look like?
It'll
We'd
be
love
cool
to know.
it'll be cool to read, and all the stuff that you guys will share, because everybody's different. So
Exactly.
yeah.
All right. Have a great day. Be kind.
Peace.